Hey everybody, welcome back to Fix the Rust Bucket. In this video, I'm going to get the FireBird mounted to, welded to the frame jig. In the last video you saw, got the engine and transmission pulled out, car up on the cribbing, took some time, got the car leveled off, got the frame jig leveled off, as well as squared up to the car. Now, off camera, before this video, I did take some time. I got the car level, and when I went around and started taking body panel measurements, and some more parts on the frame area of the car, I was coming up with, on this back right rear corner, from about mid door to the back corner of the fender, I was coming up with a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch difference from what the driver's side was. That wasn't good enough for me. I spent probably 2 or 3 hours tweaking this car, left, right, back and forth, and everything else. I do now have the car, which I'll show you over here, all the notes I have, but I do now have the car the rockers only, not the panels anymore, but just the rockers only. Between the driver's side and passenger side rockers, I'm off by 1/8 of an inch only on the body itself. You'll see I took the rear bumper off so I could get better measurements on the rear of the car. The rear of the car is dead on straight and level. The front of the car up here, as close as I can get. The radiator core support was rusted too much underneath of it, so getting a measurement off of that was useless. But on the front clip of the frames, 1/8 of an inch off in one little spot of this entire car, front to back, side to side, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I think we'll correct that. Whatever that problem is, we'll be correcting that when we start working on the body. So let me go into what I did. Also, off camera, I just cut a bunch of the metal that has to be used to mount the car. There was no sense in boring you with that. Got that all cut, measured out, cut, and prepped for welding. But let me show you right now the measurements of what we were doing, and we'll do a walk around real quick of the car before we start welding it up. Okay, so over here on the top of the box are all of my notes. Kind of get back here. These are all the notes I took. This paper is all of the frame mount location areas. These are all based off of, if you go back and check one of my other videos, I'm not sure how many videos back it was for the FireBird here, but I did order a book for this car specific, a body book, and also I went and ordered the all the mechanical stuff for the car. Got those 2 books in, and that's where I've got these copies of the frame measurements from the manufacturer. Now up here, this was just our tire pressure notes that we were doing in the last video to get it leveled off. These over here is the passenger door, driver's side door, and trunk lid, the gaps. Now, with all those measurements, like I just got done saying, we're within 1/8 of an inch. As for the door gaps, I didn't get a hood gap because obviously the hood's up on the roof. The hinges are probably worn out, but the gaps are atrocious, and I'm not going to want a gap that big on the car when I'm done, so we will be closing them in eventually when we get to that part of the car. Let me scoot past all my junk here. So same thing on the door gaps over here. They look like they're still pretty close. Yeah, I mean, with the rust in there, they do gap out a little, they come out a little bit, but they are really pretty close considering the condition of the car. The trunk, I don't remember what the measurements were on the trunk up there, but the trunk was real tight on this side. The trunk is tight along the rear here, but it's opening and closing fine. So again, these gaps are way down the road getting them fixed. Now for the bumper, like I said, I took that off. That is just sitting over there. I actually had to cut it off because I could not get into any of these bolts. They were rusted so bad. Now this rear panel that was across the back here was not broken, chipped, or damaged in any way. It's just faded paint. So we've got that saved up top up there. It is. Got it up there for now. I got to get that upstairs into storage. On the back here, I couldn't get a good measurement from the rear spring shackle areas on both sides. So removing the bumper and getting up to the frame and everything else, I finally got it. As you can see, all these metal bars from here all the way up front, the ones that are up on the jig itself, those are the ones that are getting mounted to the frame locations of the car. The ones you see sitting on the floor, those are going to be the ones mounted to the body. I debated back and forth, and I'm still not sure yet. I'm not sure if I want to run one across here and go to the rear axle for the position of the rear axle. But with those all cut out, the ones on the ones on the floor for the body mounts, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up having to make an extension, basically an extension off of the frame jig and out to get them, see if I can get you on the camera, yeah, to get these to mount to the actual part of the rocker. As you can see, they're not really straight, the frame jig is too far over. So I will have to end up probably just cutting a few more pieces to get them to mount there. But the rest of these are all going to be mounted on here. This rail here will be on top across the frame. Same thing up there in the front. That mount right here is for the back of the front clip. Now for the front of the car, these two here will be mounting, and you'll see all this when we start welding this up. These two brackets right here are going to mount to the front of the clip, somewhere right in that area on both sides. The reason I'm welding the front clip to the car or to the frame jig, and I'm going to weld it in a few spots, is because we are going to get subframe connectors. I also was looking up, and I believe it was on Summit Racing on this car. They have solid steel tube framing for the rear, both sides of the rear of the car, the framing, with the subframe connectors already in one kit. So that's why I'm back to debating if I'm going to cut and mount a location for where the rear axle goes. I've got to look a little bit more into the subframe connector kit. I do know, from what I can see on there, it doesn't come with any holes drilled in it. So the rear shackle points of the leaf springs and probably some other locations are going to need the holes drilled into them. With that said, that's why on the back end here, when we mount up to the frame there's going to be some flat plates that we're going to be adding to the sides, and I'll explain it when we get into it more there. But basically we're going to get it to where those welded parts to the chassis jig are on either side of the shackles, and then when we get to that part of the frame, we'll be able to drill the holes, put new shackles in it, drop everything right down to where it's supposed to be. Everything will line up. Now with that said, got a ton of more work to do even after getting this all welded up on there. We'll get it welded up, get everything out from underneath of it. The back window's still good on the car. Front windshield's got a crack in it. There's no fixing that. The side windows in the door, they're there. They're not cracked. They're not broken, but they have scratches on them. And I don't know. I remember vaguely that there was a way to polish some glass. I don't know. We'll see. My goal is to save as much of this car, the original parts of this car, as I can. There's a lot of parts that I already know that there's no way to save them. I'm not looking to make to keep the cars per se original, but I would like to keep as many original parts on it. I don't want everything to be a repop metal on it. The roof is garbage. I did decide, and probably because I can't find the parts more than anything else, but around the window frame, on the front and rear, they are rusted out. So, they're gone. You stick your thumb through almost everywhere on that. Along with the front dashboard, the package tray, I believe, is rusted out too. I believe that's none. Well, it might be salvageable because that's going to be covered up material. So I don't mind if the interior parts are going to be covered up with either fabric or the new plastic that they make for these interiors. I don't mind sanding and a little bit of rust pitting on there because it's, again, original part of the car. I want to keep as much as I can of the original. I'd like to, and we'll know as we start tearing into it, I would like to keep the original doors. The door skins are not going to be able to be salvaged. The driver's side door skin is horrible. But if I can keep the inner structure of the door, that'll be great. Again, I don't mind. I'll take on and try my hand at some metal working. And if we need to do some patchwork, we'll spend some time, do some patchwork, make it look right and look as close as we can to original. And then I've got the door structure. The door skin, not a big deal. This door skin's out. It's got Bondo on it already. Rear quarters, they're gone. There's no salvaging them. And I don't know about any of the valances on these cars. This one here, we'll get it off and see how rusted it is. I don't think I can find one of these. And the back one, I haven't been able to find one as I've been searching for body parts on the car. So anyway, enough talking from me. Let's get into welding this to the jig and get everything off of it that we can get off of it today. Okay, so hit the brakes. Here I am, almost 3 months later, back out in the garage. I haven't, since you guys saw me welding up the front of the rear frame members on this car, I haven't been out here for 2.5, 3 months really doing anything with the car. I'll explain. I did change up and do some measurements and stuff, but I changed up the metal we're going to be using, and I'll explain that right now. So the metal I was using was galvanized square tubing. I was able to clean the galvanized coating off the outside of the tubing, but I couldn't get it off the inside. I had the proper PPE to weld it, but I didn't have enough cross ventilation in the garage. So I kind of, with this whole title DMV mess going on with the car, it gave me time to think about it. We got some square tubing and we're going to get that stuff out of here. It's no good for your health. It's no good for anything. And we're going to use the regular square steel tubing to remount the car. And now we jump back. So while I was welding that up, in the mail that afternoon came a letter from the DMV. I did 2 titles on the same day, one for my son's car and one for this car. I took titles in to get them changed over into our names. And his title showed up and I hadn't seen mine yet. I waited another week or 2, still nothing from the DMV, and I was actually kind of getting concerned because I had no registration on this car. I have nothing on the car but that title. So right before I was getting ready to contact the DMV, I did receive a letter in the mail from the DMV that they have possession of my title. They're not going to issue me the title in my name unless I have License and Theft Bureau of North Carolina come out here, or me take the car to them and investigate the car. They want to verify the car is what it is, or what I say it is, I guess not being a clone, and 2, that the car is not stolen. Well, the DMV can run that VIN number just as easily as I can. Either way, there's no way for me to get the car to them. So I contacted the department, License and Theft Department, and I asked them if there would be a way that they could come out to where the car is at, because I can't get it to them. There's no way. They were cool about it. They said, yes, they'll send someone out, but it's going to be a couple weeks before they can do that. They set the appointment up 3 weeks later. As you'll see in the video, I didn't audio record any of it. I just video recorded some of it. They came out. They did their investigation. It can take them up to 2 weeks to completely finalize all the paperwork they have to do and all the stuff that they do, then submit it to the DMV. Short of the story here is, well, first off, I did my due diligence. Before I traded that red Chevy Silverado I had in older videos, before I traded that truck for this car, I made sure this car wasn't stolen. I did a bunch of research, checked VIN numbers, talked to a few people that could check VIN numbers for me, and nothing came back stolen. Also, through the person that had the car, verified that it was a true 72, not a clone 72. So I was pretty comfortable with that, but the DMV put a little bit of doubt in my mind. So I stopped working on the car, because if something came back wrong on this car, not necessarily as it being a clone, but if something came back or the car was reported stolen, basically they bring a tow truck, they load up the car, and I'm out. So I kind of just stopped working on everything until that whole process went through and got taken care of. Last week, I received the title in the mail from the DMV. It's in my name, North Carolina title on it now, so we're going to get back to working on the car. That whole time, while I was waiting for all this mess to happen and get taken care of, where I was, you guys saw in just a second ago, I was welding that back side up. Like I said, that was like 2.5, 3 months ago. That was galvanized square tubing. I was able to clean the galvanized coating off the outside, but I couldn't clean it off on the inside. I had the proper PPE, but I couldn't get enough cross ventilation in this garage to blow out the fumes, the gas fumes, smoke, all that stuff from it. So while I was waiting for the DMV and everybody else to do their stuff, I realized it wasn't worth my health or anybody else's health in my house dealing with that. So I figured out what I was gonna do, and we had some square tubing, and I still have some left over here. We had some square regular steel tubing that we're gonna re-weld the whole car to it. The parts that you saw me weld onto the car is actually mounted to the frame jig now. It's not moving, it's rock solid to the frame jig, and it's just floating on these blocks here. But I stopped. I wasn't going to add any more, because if something came up, I'd have to cut the whole car off of it and they'd take it away. We're back to getting the car welded on there. Those are going to get cut out as I work my way back up the car, welding the other steel in. But for now, here's a clip of what went on with License and Theft Bureau coming in here, and then we'll get back into getting this all welded back onto the chassis jig. Okay, so with that mess out of the way, title in hand, everything's good on the car again. I did get out here the other night and drop the fuel tank, which you'll see here in a minute. I did drop the fuel tank on the car just to get me better access to the frame rails on the backside here to mount the car to the frame jig. I have a couple of pieces of metal already cut, ready to go. More than likely, I'm just going to cut those out, the galvanized pieces, cut them off. I've got pieces cut for that area. Cut them off, get them out of here. I just don't want to deal with the galvanized metal. And we're going to work from the rear to the front of the car and get it mounted to the frame jig. Now, as for the rear axle, I talked about earlier in the video about putting a bar across here to center the axle. I don't think that's going to be necessary. And you'll see why when we get to mounting or welding the car up. There's going to be bars that are going to where the rear spring shackles mount on this frame rail, on the rear and the front of the springs. That will center up where everything needs to be on there. All right, so there we have it. The car is completely up on the frame jig, not on cribbing anymore, which I'm super happy about. Been walking around that and banging my shins in them constantly. Now, these two up front here are not welded to the car. They're only welded to the jig itself. The ones just in the back of them are tack welded to the front clip, but only tack welded because we're going to be cutting that off. The ones in the very far back are welded to the car and the frame jig solid. We are going to be taking off now, probably in the next video, we're going to be taking this whole front nose piece off, clipping all bumpers, separating everything, and a few more pieces that we got to get off the car. Then we can start actually doing the body work on it. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this video. I appreciate everybody sticking around. I know it's been a long time, 3 months. It might be even a little bit longer by the time I get this video out. But the car is up on the frame jig, off the cribbing. We can actually start working on the car and not just come out here and look at a car sitting up on blocks and tires. We have a lot to do still. I got to get the whole front end taken off of the firewall, the suspension off, the rear axle, start stripping out the interior, the windshields, all that stuff. The window channels, all of the window channels have to be hand built, rebuilt. So that's going to be new for me. Stick around for that. We'll see how that goes. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get this garage cleaned up, get some things out of the way so we can start making room to start staging some of these parts and get these parts ready for metal work, or if we can't fix it, like the door skins I was telling you about, I'm hoping the inner structure of the doors are still good. Patch them up if we need to patch some spots. The bottoms are probably rusted out. Get some door skins on there. The fenders, the outer fenders here look really good. There are a few dings in them, so we're going to metal work them. This bumper, we are keeping the bumper. I've got to get the material. There's a flexible material you can fix these with. Once I find it and we start working on that, I'll get you guys a link to what that is. So again, thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next video.